By the end of the 60s, the music of downtown Kingston had not only taken over Jamaica, but stormed the charts in Britain. The 70s saw a revolution in Jamaican music, where a generation of artists, led by Bob Marley, driven by Rastafari, and inspired by the teachings of Marcus Garvey, wrested control of the business and produced the rebel sound of roots music.
The Rastaman is talking about Marcus Garvey, Haile Selassie, and want to go to Africa.
That is the future. Rasta is the future.
It spread across the globe, and its legacy is the backbone of popular music today. Jamaican patois, dreadlocks, DJs, dub, versions, remixes, and even rap music.
King, for DJ, Uri the teacher, the first DJ that ever made a #1 song by rapping, talking.
Dub is the foundation of reggae music. If you don't like the dub, trust me, you might not like the finished product.
Get up, stand up for your right. You get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. You get up, stand up for your right. You get up, stand up, don't give up the fight.
1977. Bob Marley has conquered most of the world. A huge audience in London is delighted to hear about the rights of the oppressed, the benefits of marijuana, and above all else, Rastafari, the previously little-known Jamaican movement whose main tenet is the divinity of the Black Emperor of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie.
Don't give up the fight. Don't give up the fight.
But at the end of the 60s, things were very different. Rastafari was the religion of the outsider, reggae in Jamaica was in the doldrums, and Bob Marley was a struggling songwriter, pressing his own records with a wife and family to support.
Bend down low. Let me tell you what I know, yeah. Bend down low. Let me tell you what I know, yeah. Oh, fisherman.
He had a message to be delivered, to be heard, and that was one of his main things, to be heard. You know, when am I going to be heard? When the radio station is going to play my music?
In the 60s, a rebel spirit like Marley was going nowhere. The record bosses had lost interest in the domestic market. There wasn't enough money in it. They were looking almost exclusively to England, where there was a huge appetite for pop reggae.
One in the milk from a hole in the roof where the rain came through.
To this British audience, reggae had only a loose connection to Jamaica. It had become their pop music and seemed to sing about a new, multicultural Britain.
Yeah, to me it felt like our music, you know. It was like...
Well, it was the only thing that you could relate to, you know what I mean? It was just like, yeah, it was the only thing that made sense to you.
But it was well-defined youth culture, wasn't it, in them days? You were either into kind of soul or reggae, cool music, and the clothes that went with it. Or you were into... No, it wasn't even hippie stuff, it was Hell's Angels.
Find a job, trying to keep your ends warm, but the hole in the shoe let the snow come through.
The music was perfect for the UK, but back in Jamaica, it was ignored. A new music was brewing on the sound systems, and a new wind was blowing through the island. A serious economic downturn had actually made most people's lives worse in the 10 years since independence. Colonial oppression had been replaced by economic depression.
No plane not flying over, dropping nothing. See some kids outside, like, they be like, Mr. B, we gonna cook our food. You know, they need $20 more to get the saltfish. And it's true. And you see 50 of them, and that's what they're gonna cook, that's their dinner. Enough of them now, no mother, no father, gunman. Some of them are father, bad boy, and dead. You know, so hungry Jamaica is hungry, child.
The
music industry was like in a lull. There wasn't anything great happening for reggae. The radio was playing like a lot of calypso, Byron Lee. Most of the announcers, they really didn't align themselves with the poorer classes. The sound system was the most direct link with the people.
Me and my crew, the little crew, cause we used to undance. We were like crashers of dance. You know, we crash dance, we crash wedding. We're not invited. We eat off the food. You know. So we heard, as kids, we heard about the sound that could take the voice out of music. So we all got together and went to this place called OK Ram Jam Club to hear the sound that could take the voice out of music.
They called this versions or dub, the first craze to sweep downtown for years. It was recycled instrumentals of old rocksteady hits.
There's no vocals. So you're walking around or you're drinking your beer or you're burning your spliff or whatever. You know, you're in a totally different atmosphere. Dub is reggae karaoke.
The whole crowd get so interested and start sing over the rhythm, and the DJ have to play it around 5 times.
Next up were the DJs, the flamboyant frontmen who realized that with these backing tracks, you could do more than just introduce the records.
Wait the town and tell the people about the musical disc coming your way. Now wait the town and tell the people I've got a musical disc and I can't afford to be late.
The first 2 songs, which is Wait the Town and Tell the People, on the station Rule the Nation with version. The 2 songs was played on the radio, but believe me, I never even believed them going away at all, because to me, it's just 2 more tunes we're going to just play, and after a while, dump, you know? But then the 2 tunes become number 1 and number 2.
Do it, baby, do it. You can wake it up, baby, you can wake it up.
The real DJ music was born in Jamaica with that song, Wake the Town and Tell the People. The whole Jamaica was awoken that day. The breeze would take the sound right over Kingston. Anywhere in Kingston, yeah, you can hear when URI is playing. It's like a heavenly sound, it's beautiful. You know?
God let the world know how much I need you so. Should I walk the world to know? Gee, we I never let you go, you know. Go to be good, be good.
Believe me, it's like, it was such a big surprise for me, because I used to have this little bike that I've been riding down the street, and you would start block the road now and check me out and tell me how great I am and how much they love what I'm doing, you know what I mean? So it's like, that was really something exciting for me.
DJs talked about everyday experience and turned it into a kind of poetry, and they spoke in patois. The music was at one with its audience again.
The principles that are used in hip-hop and rap today are the same principles that were used in the originals in the 60s, when the likes of a Count Machuki and a Daddy Roy talked over the dubs. They'd say simple stuff started off, great talk, this station rule it, you know? And that principle was passed down to the child. The mother reggae passed it on to the child called hip-hop, bottom line.
Reggae music wasn't happening in Jamaica, everybody would die. Because reggae music is a sort of encouragement, it's a prayer that even when they don't have no food, you know, even, listen this, even when you're in your house hungry and you know say you're gonna die, and a man say to you that, listen man, just pray, keep it up, you're gonna be all right. The doctor said that, said just like reggae music.
With its foreign market, The music business was one of the few areas still offering jobs in Kingston. It became a magnet for people from all over the island.
Most of the artists that we have don't come from Kingston, they are out in the country. What happens is that they migrated to Kingston because they felt now this is happening and it's a future for me, and they could get all the help they wanted. They had studios, producers here, they had nothing out in the country.
You can get it if you really want. You can get it if you really want. You can get it if you really want, but you must try.
A poor boy trying to make it in Kingston was the story told in The Harder They Come, one of the key post-colonial films. And for all its mythologizing, is a remarkably accurate portrait of Jamaica at the dawn of the 70s.
Persecution you must bear. Win and lose, you've got to get your share. Got your mind set on.
I think it was a good film. A very, very good film. Well done because it was so real. It captured the moment, it captured the time.
Many rivers to cross, but I can't seem to find my way over. Many rivers to cross, and it's only my will that keeps me alive. I've been licked, washed up for years, and I merely survive because of my pride.
When Harder They Come opened at Carib Theatre, which was then a 1,500-seat theatre, 30,000 people, or I don't know how big the crowd was because you couldn't see the end of it. They battered down the doors. They invaded the theatre. When there were 3 people in every seat, we ran the film. Right? Because they were seeing themselves on the screen for the first time. This wasn't Charlton Heston. This wasn't Yul Brynner. This was a Jamaican.
On its international release, The Harder They Come would go on to have a major role in the spread of reggae around the globe. But it also appealed to the domestic audience. They saw something of their own lives in this story of the power wielded by the old guard of record producers who ran the business and who was stifling the new voices downtown.
That's enough. That's all right. I think we can use it. I'll read this first.
What's the meaning of this, sir?
I mean, you get $20 for the record.
$20, sir? That don't sound right.
In fact, the big producers were under threat.
I don't think I'm signing this for $20, sir.
And it was the forces brewing downtown, operating outside the established channels, that would take over, recycling the old music and rhythms into something new and exciting.
Out with the bass. Give me some piano. Drum and bass rolling, drum and bass. Strictly drum and bass. Piano with some echo.
Dub to me is an artistic expression of internal molecular energy.
Out to the bass. Piano alone with some echo. Then we give you bass alone. rolling bass. Come in, drums.
I mean, you play the right dub and people all take the clothes off and go on crazy and they don't even drink a glass of wine yet.
Dub was ideal for the new independent producers. With these backing tracks, they could add DJs, groups, or singers. Lee Scratch Perry had some success in Britain with his band The Upsetters. But his old friend Bob Marley was struggling. He had been trying to run his own label for years. In 1969, they teamed up.
The only person I ever saw Bob kind of really respect in the studio, as it were, you know, to the point where he'd be irritated about it, was Lee Perry. And the Upsetters, who became the base of the Wailers, they were Lee Perry's guys, Barrett Brothers.
We, the Wailers, started our independent career and left Coxsone because Jamaica knew about the Wailers, but the world didn't. And we decided to venture with Lee Perry, who had an acquaintance also with the UK through the Upsetters band. And we did that experiment also with him, which also turned out to be pirate and bootleg and unfair situation where we didn't get none out of that.
Buy ganja and music reggae from Jamaica. That's what Jamaica have to give. Jamaica means Jesus Christ. He give you the drum. Jesus Christ is black, he's Marcus Garvey. Yes, Selassie did not die in Egypt. He's on my head.
Salvador Dali says, no one has to understand whether I am serious or joking, not even me. And I think that is the ultimate in artistic freedom. Well, Lee Perry is another one. Lee Perry says, you must remember, everything starts from scratch.
The original rock from Egypt, and I was there from the time when God gave wonderful, beautiful Egypt for his people.
He's a professor at work in his lab, and he makes music out of anything. He takes a quart bottle, and he throws water in, and he knocks, bip, bip, bip. You get one note, dubs that on.
Then I am Moses.
Then he puts some more water in.
Where is my rod?
He gets a different sound, bip, 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 and he puts that on. And by the time you fill that bottle, you have about 5 tracks of 5 different sounds, and he mixes those into one. The guy's a genius.
If you want a big tree, let me tell you that we are the small axe, sharp and ready to cut you down.
I was in the studio when Bob Marley made Small Axe. And after the Wailers did that song, I saw and heard Bob. He stepped away from the mic and he lifted his hands in the air and said, look, right now, people don't want to know me, but a time can come, and I repeat, a time can come when the whole entire universe, the whole entire world shall know of Bob Marley.
No sun will shine in my day today.
The 18 months that the Wailers spent with Lee Perry changed them and Jamaican music forever. Bob Marley developed beyond his American R&B influences into a Jamaican protest singer.
The different struggles that we've been through motivated us to accomplish what we have accomplished. And as far as the message is concerned, if we hadn't been going through certain kind of changes, we would not be able to relate to other people of the world that were going through those changes just the same.
Just move on up toward your destination, though you may find from time to time. The gorilla studies. He doesn't rest. He studies and keeps himself good. Study till they're ready.
What he wrote about early was political, but Jamaican, localized. Then you saw that power in 1969, when all of these things started to emerge, and you're going to write revolutionary songs. I mean, a guy like Bob Marley, prolific songwriter, can write a revolutionary song every day. That's how he thought.
Then, you know, you realize that the Black Power movement was more of a political movement. It never have a spiritual awakening into it, you know. So, as a youth, you know, looking and searching, trying to figure out and find out things, we started to move amongst ones who was seeming to focus to Rastafari. And we realized that Rastafari was not only offering a Black Power movement as such, but it was also a spiritual awakening, you know.
Come to Kingston, meet some more people. Them people is Rasta. You talk to them and find out it's the same thing I have inside. It's the same thing.
How old were you when this started to happen?
This is about 17, 18, you know. I find out that's the same thing where I deal with, the same thing where the Rasta man talk about. So that is how I could identify myself as a Rasta. By not changing, you know.
Said I hear the words of a higher man say.
Rastafarianism, started in Jamaica in the 1930s, is a doctrine that looks to Africa, and particularly Ethiopia's Black King, His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie. After his visit to Jamaica in 1966, Rastafari became the uniquely Jamaican voice of black consciousness.
It's the new birth of a new music, a new generation that I think to carry a message across the earth. This is the one that you tell them to somebody and I will understand it, you know. You see, I hit this in Revelation, reggae music, and I carry it on with the people too. Back to Africa, everything I go Africa.
The Rasta musicians sang of revolution as Jamaica was going through revolutionary times. 10 years of right-wing incompetence and corruption had brought Jamaica to her knees. The opposition came in the shape of radical young lawyer Michael Manley. His socialist message was one of economic self-sufficiency and independence from America.
They try to take advantage of me. No, when Manley come with him self-reliance, it wasn't only a hope for the people, you know, but you have Rasta who did see this as something great. You know, a politician come and tell us, boy, right, I could rely upon myself, I could plant more food. That is what the Rasta man that say all the while.
Soon, musicians began to rally around him. Bob and Rita Marley, Dennis Brown and Alton Ellis joined his 1971 election campaign bus.
The Jamaican music that is emerging in the whole reggae phenomenon is one of the most tremendous political forces in this country, because it's a tremendous force for change. It is the first real people's language that has emerged, in which people are singing of their woes, their tragedy, their despair, and are forcing this society to understand.
At the time, the island was being controlled by like 16 families, it was said. And Michael Manley came to change that. So we agree with the fact, and we started to say, yeah, Michael Manley. And then Michael Manley liberated Rasta in Jamaica. And I can work in any job in Jamaica. Before Michael Manley, Rasta have to hide. And that's why I, as an individual, get involved with him, because we liked what he was saying at the time. Give the poor man a chance.
The hopes for Michael Manley were mirrored in The Harder They Come and became an international story when the film was released abroad in 1972.
How do they come? It's really about, can the little man get through? Can a poor man get through? It's a story of an illusion, that the promise of the city was a very cruel illusion, because somebody like Ivan coming to the big city, full of, you can get it if you really want. Well, the fact is, you can't get it if you really want, no matter how hard you try. You know, a dream will not see you through.
Jose, you looking for me? I come to shoot your blood.
And who didn't know where this music is coming from, to them it was, oh, there's one new music, something new. It was just like the tail end of the hippie movement in the world. So they also could identify with that wherever, you know. This guy who was rebelling against the system, and that, yeah, all of that was very, very strong. Chemical was very strong.
The Harder They Come went on to become a huge hit. It brought Jamaica's music to the world and looked like making Jimmy Cliff into the first global reggae star. He'd been in the music business since the ska days and moved to Britain in 1965. He was being groomed by Island Records to break into the huge international rock album market.
Jamaican music was rather like R&B music, because nobody went to make an album. They made a collection of songs, one after the other, to try and be singles, and then they'd gather them all up and put them out on the record. But he made what I consider to be the first Jamaican album, an idea as an album, which was called Wonderful World, Beautiful People. But we just didn't make it. And then there was this opportunity to star in this movie, and I told him that I thought he should do it.
The year he spent making the film gave Jimmy Cliff time to reflect on his career with Island Records.
I thought, oh, I was there all these years and nobody was giving me any attention. And now I think my time has come, and I say, hey, look, treat me better and all of that. And Chris was seeing it different. And I just say, oh, well, you know, maybe it's my time to make my move. And I made my move, and he made his move. I left Ireland.
I was distraught about Jimmy leaving, because I really felt I knew what kind of record, what kind of image, what kind of marketing campaign, how it would work. You know, and it wasn't, it was something I was just going to transpose from his character in the film straight onto, you know, the stage, essentially. But literally 2 weeks later, Bob Marley walked in the door. They were pariahs in the Jamaican music business because they wouldn't follow the system, submit to the system. So everybody said you can't deal with them because they're impossible, etc., etc. But I gave them the money to go make the record.
No sun will shine in my day to day. No sun will shine. The high yellow moon won't come out to play. Won't come out to play. I said, darkness has covered my light, and has changed my day to night. Yeah. Well,
was the first Jamaican album to be marketed like the rock acts in Blackwell's stable. Novelty cover, guaranteed to break within 20 minutes, extra lead guitar, and a proper band. Their follow-up album even had the lyrics printed on the inside, the ultimate accolade for a rock album.
What had been ingrained in them is a single for radio. What they wanted to do was to get something on the R&B charts in America, because that would be their route to success. And I was going a completely other route. I said, forget about that. American black market could be less interested in Jamaican music. The people who are interested in the white liberal kids, people who are interested in the culture and what the lyrics are and what you have to say.
I've got to pick myself from off the ground.
What happened is that black folks weren't turned on to the Rastafarian doctrine because Rastas were someone to look down on. So when the Wailers came to the UK with our young Ras, our image, those folks who left Jamaica as black people who had a kind of a stigma where Rastas were concerned, they were turned off of the Wailers completely. It's because the Beatles had an image that was left in the minds of the white folks in London that said a lot of hair on their head that caught an attention for the Wailers. The hippies loved us. And all those hippies now are dreadlock people hating Haile Selassie.
The rock audience began to buy into the dreadlocked, ganja-smoking outlaw image of the Wailers. And when guitar god Eric Clapton had a worldwide smash hit with a cover of I Shot the Sheriff, Marley never looked back. Marley's success took roots music out of Jamaica and made it known across the globe.
I think the kind of music, what we were dealing with, carrying that kind of musical spice, it's something about the music. Once you hear that music, it take all of your body and it take all of your mind. It take all of your thought, it take all of everything, based upon you as an individual, or the people, or a person. The music, it's something like a gravity, like a magnet. It insists to hold on to you.
The Mighty Diamonds, the Gladiators and Culture all had success in Britain as a new generation of fans got to grips with mysteriously named artists like Ijaman Levi, Iroy and Prince Farai. The language of Rastafari was now for sale on your local high street.
I will sing unto thee, O Jah, among the nations, for thy mercies are higher than the heaven above, and the truth reaches out into the land. A fool says in his heart there is no God. The foolish say, fool says in his heart there is no God. For the wise men reach out.
We build now like all the house of Jed. Cause the Jed them love it. And then the daughter them must scrub it and start flashing nuts now. That's the biggest reaction, man. The naughty Jade them love it, and the sister them love it. Canati Jade like Jade, move ya down in the house of Jade. Canati Jade like Jade, I'm a Rasta man, down in the house of Jade. In and him gone so, and him kick so him pass so.
In the early 60s, no. Them time that people no like no Rasta at all. People on the whole don't like your family's Rasta. even when I start going my years, my people, my grandmother, which are them people that I grow with, a man, they look at me and tell me, hey, don't come back into my yard and talk about no Rasta. Right? I say, watch this. I don't have to come up from the yard, you know. Culturally, the influence is so strong that now, you know, the international recognition, the recognition by the intellectuals is there now that this is a resistance movement that use a very unique way of expressing their truth.
So do you remember the days of slavery? So do you remember the days of slavery? And the beat of the beat.
As roots and Rasta became widespread across the island, Jamaica began to sing about its past. It was the rediscovery of 400 years of a folk culture that went back to Africa. They sung of their ancestors, the Maroons, the escaped slaves who ruled the hills.
When we say country, as it relates to Jamaica, it's totally different to what you think of country. It's a weary kind of thing. These people are people who have to climb hills to plant their food, bring home woods for fire on their heads, crocus bags of food on their backs, and they have to come home and fetch water to be able to cook. So I'm telling you that my exposure to the country was like I dealt directly with the relics and slave retentions.
Well, my family, my mother's mother, is a direct descendant from the Maroon. Well, the Maroon rebelled against the British, and they were also ancient people from Africa who brought ancient traditions over here and still maintain certain traditions like the Jan Canoe and certain festivities that are linked direct to the motherland.
Coming from a country where you learn the things like you don't learn to depend on family and all of that, you know. You go out and you plant your own corn and you watch the corn grow. When corn grow, you pick your own corn, you know what I mean?
Yes.
All of them fruits on them tree, you can get them, you know? So...
It's a little different, though, in town.
Yeah.
You know, you got to do different things to eat, eh?
Well, when you're in a city, it's a whole different ball game, you know.
One day you are dreadlocks. Well,
By the mid-70s, tensions in the city were rising unbearably. A beleaguered Michael Manley, beset by financial problems and undermined by the CIA, began to distance himself from his more revolutionary ideals. Rasta was one of the first casualties.
You know, the locks are very dramatic to look at from a theatrical point of view. It's marvelous, you know, it's very exciting. But I would imagine that if you were an employer who has been brought up in a tradition of a tidy-looking staff who is there to meet the public, that there might be a sort of hesitancy about employing a person who insists on appearing in that way.
Somewhere along the line, them lose it. Them lose it somewhere and gone back, right back, and then them lose. There's something about politics that change even God into devil.
And if a righteousness, yes, a righteous way.
Melt away, melt away, melt away. I migrated to the United States. I made a mistake by singing the wrong song, and I was being evicted out of the island. So I went to the United States. I lived there for 18 years.
The rude boy gangs of the 60s were now the henchmen of the political parties. Dabbling in politics became a dangerous game for independent voices like Rasta.
Violence is destructive and degrading. Please help in every possible way to make this general election campaign a peaceful one.
In the lead-up to the 1976 election, the violence escalated into running gun battles on the streets of Kingston. Bob Marley decided to play a concert calling for all parties to lay down their weapons. No one was listening.
I'm said lodge inside there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You never saw the gunman?
Well, at that time, no.
But you know who did it?
Yeah, I know them.
Were they caught?
No, but I don't court the police. Just, you know, one thing.
He reaches where he throwed where I'm afraid to. He got shot. I didn't. I'm not that brave to face the gun. He was brave. Much braver than I was. That's why he is what he is. And I am what I am. I'm alive.
The concert took place 2 days after the shooting, but Bob Marley still decided to appear.
Until that day, the African continent will not know peace. We Africans will fight, we find it necessary. We know we shall win. We are confident in the victory of good over evil.
The shooting and concert effectively turned Bob Marley into a prophet for his millions of fans around the world. But Marley lived in Kingston, and he could see when things were too hot. He was out of Jamaica within 2 weeks and didn't come back for 18 months.
So you must respect your brother.
He moved to London, where he found a vigorous roots scene.
There was a serious identification crisis happening in Handsworth and in various black communities throughout England at the time. It was a case where we had parents coming from Jamaica that never told us about the history of Jamaica. We were learning about ourselves through the music, because we definitely weren't learning it at school. So we sort of gravitated more to the music. At the time, it was a lot of Bob Marley songs played, the Abyssinians played, and Burning Spear.
It was 1977, and visiting roots bands found themselves with a massive new British audience, punk rockers.
Police and thieves in the street.
The alliance between punk and reggae was a genuine and a real one, and I was involved in it because I used to open for Susie and the Banshees. Both reggae was the music of rebellion and punk was the music of rebellion. So it was black and white working class culture showing some solidarity with each other.
Punk's obviously got a lot out of reggae music. I think what reggae got out of the punk thing was exposure. I think that did a lot to kind of bring people together, because this is the time when the Rock Against Racism movement was happening. So, you know, it was through music that we learnt to understand our differences.
Walk no long, just kicking stones. My mind in my own business. I come face to face with my foe, disguised in violence from head to toe. All and I fall. Them not let me go now.
Although punk burnt out within a year, its alliance with reggae continued. In 1978, Virgin Records sent the ex-king of punk to Jamaica to find another Bob Marley.
When the Pistols broke up, just about the only bloke that Virgin Records knew who knew anything at all about reggae was moi. So they asked me would I go over there, and quite a few good acts we did come across. There was one bloke at Virgin who would buy anything and everything, and he'd just buy it all and see it all on the same level. Well, it's like, I don't know, coming to England and buying a Des O'Connor record and the Sex Pistols and expecting both to be of equal value. They are, but they're not. They're different, and they stand for different things.
I know a punk rocker is a man who do him here with some different little colours and look different, okay? So it's alright. Hey, it's not exciting for me. I just know he's a punk rocker and that's it. That's cool for me. You know what I mean?
Don't care where you come from. As long as you're a black man, you are an African. No mind denomination. There is no segregation. You are an African.
It's strange that a music that was what anti-European in a lot of its context, and knowing that the Rastafari was seeing that Europe was their main aggressors against black people's freedom, it's ironical that the music should take on to that, you know, but that's how it went. It went that way. White people started to buy the music, they listen to it. Why? I don't know. Maybe they are masochists, I don't know. Because there's some masochism that is taking place here because the music is beating at that colonialism.
Could we have up here, on stage here, the presence of Mr. Michael Manley and Mr. Edward Seaga. Oh! I just want to shake hands and show the people that...
The worldwide success of roots music made Bob Marley the most famous Jamaican of all time. And on his return to the island in 1978, he pulled off a miracle. He got the leaders of the two warring parties to shake hands after years of bloody conflict. They never shook hands again in public until Marley's funeral 3 years later.
Love, prosperity, be with us all. Jah, Rastafari,
Marley's message gave a voice to black civil rights around the world. But for a large, more affluent part of the black British audience, it was all starting to sound a little like ancient history.
Money in my pocket, but I just can't get no love. Oh no. Money in my pocket, but I just can't get no love.
Kids over here have got no relationship with a traditional thing in the West Indies. So, you know, they don't know nothing about the West Indies. All they're interested in is what's happening with them, with life in England, growing up in England.
So Black Britain came up with their own unique sound. They called it Lovers Rock. This time it was women who took centre stage.
Working as a trainee accountant. My boss was quite sympathetic as well. He was quite excited for me, really, when I brought him in my single and everything, and he just said, well, you can always go back and become an accountant, Carol, but you won't always have a pop career.
When you had music that was made by people like us.
So they were all like real people that you could identify with, which is hard.
I saw Janet Kay and John Lewis with my mother. Get some like more serious people, look back and say, oh, it was trivial, look at all the stuff that was going on then. You know, there was riots, there was this, you know, like police, all the stuff, the stress that black guys especially were getting from the police. Where was, you had no hint from those records that was going on. It was almost like in this little happy bubble.
It's like escapism.
Lovers Rock took a hold of a generation of black British women. Even now, it still pulls a full house. All of a sudden, Britain had something unique to offer reggae, and London became a magnet for many disaffected Jamaican singers.
I was that guy who wanted to do soul music too in Jamaica. They say, no, you can't do soul music, you're still out. You know. When we come to England, the atmosphere is different. When I chill out, you know what I say? So we can start, I figured I had a chance now to make all that me wanted to make in Jamaica that they wouldn't have it.
Most of the Lovers' hits didn't do much in Jamaica, but there was a steady flow of reggae balladeers coming to London to capitalise on the market. Gregory Isaac spent so much time in the UK, he may as well have moved over.
Tell her it's a case of emergency. There's a patient by the name of Gregory. Night nurse.
I like it. You have a girl named Janet Kay, and those times you have a group named 15, 16, and 17. I used to listen to them a lot, you know. One night to see like reggae music making in Jamaica or anywhere else. Because you have talent all over the world, you have musicians all over the world, differently. So, and you have studios all over the world. So, it don't really make no difference.
I don't wanna see no doubt.
From early childhood, love song really get my interest towards music, you know? Because everyday people fall in love.
About Gregory Isaacs. Does he fall in love much?
I stand in love, you know?
Hold on, come again.
By the late 70s, British Lovers Rock had become a major influence on Jamaican singers.
When Dennis Brown decided to set up his home in the UK, and he was the cream of Lovers singers, that golden voice, you know. And when he came here and then he opened up his record label, and I thought, whoa, wicked.
Have you ever been in love? Have you ever been in love before?
Roots reggae dominated Jamaica in the 70s. Its idealism helped the country form an identity 10 years after independence. So when Britain returned its last colony in Africa to its rightful owners in 1980, the locals only wanted to hear one man. Bob Marley had finally gone back to Africa.
We gonna fight it for our rights. Not if mash it in a Zimbabwe. Put the treaty, put it in a Zimbabwe. Africans are liberate Zimbabwe.
makes Bob Marley is Rastafari. Why was Bob Marley saying the things that he was saying? It was because of a thinking, a certain worldview. And the worldview was Rastafari, because there's no time that Bob Marley was interviewed, him don't mention Rastafari.
But what few people knew was that Bob Marley was dying of cancer. Roots was on the wane, and a new form of Jamaican music was brewing in the dance halls of Kingston. And unlike Roots, it would storm America.
It's a dabbling politics. I don't know what that is. You see, stand up and talk for my rights. I know what that is. See? And I don't care who the guy is. Because my right is my right, like my life. You know? All I have is my life.
Yeah, yeah. All pirates, yes, they rob I. And they sold I to the merchant ships, yes. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit. But my end was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Won't you? Whoa. Another song of free man, 'cause all I ever have, redemption songs, yeah, redemption songs. One more thing, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. Would you help to sing another song of freedom? All I ever have, redemption song.